probably a couple of decades ago, a degree is all you needed. But then, today a degree has become like a hygiene factor. It is not a differentiator anymore.
One of the main things for graduates to do firstly is to figure out what are those avenues/channels available for them to sort of get the job that.
Questioning is a very important part and an important skill.
Ethic, communication, confidence.
Red flag, clear no.
I sort of agree. They have energy, they will learn, they will strive. Take charge of your career. Your career is not your manager's job, not your HR's job, not your teacher's job, not your parents' job.
There is a strong misconception. Empty vessels make more noise. In today's day and age, if you don't make noise, you will not even be noticed.
Be excellent in what you do. And if it requires learning, learn that. Then follow a structure. The first 5 years of your career, you're getting paid to learn.
It is important to tell them repeatedly, like every semester, what is constant and what has evolved.
85% of us are not doing things that we studied for. Those certificates mean nothing today. The education system has not evolved at the pace the corporate world is evolving. It ideally should start when the child is going into the campus and not when the child is coming out of the campus. It's more than corporate readiness. I think it's academia readiness.
Children today have access to information more than what an academia could give. The problem is, I think there's a lot of self-doubt which is covered by arrogance and confidence. By adding a syllabus on mental health or personality building is very important in today's world.
On the other side, you come up with examples of Mark Zuckerberg or somebody who's using as a college dropout. They dropped out from Harvard. They did not drop out from some random college.
Understanding individual as an individual. What is your strength in terms of industry might not be strength actually when you're involved in community work. Involving them in projects right from the first year. With engineering, it's a bit of a challenge to be honest because it is highly competitive on a lot of parameters. Educating teachers, there's a lot of unlearning, relearning and learning on the go.
Unless you put it as a habit, from the day one the kid is in the campus, grooming will never change. Hard skill can probably get you into the door of the corporate. You've got great marks, you've got all that stuff, everything in the resume looks good, but only soft skill can get you inside the corporate.
Colleges that focus on, upping their NIRF ranking, right, have to develop holistically.
Now with the video content available, they can really see how office looks like, how people behave and how people walk and talk. So a lot of content is available. What they need now is to experience different scenarios.
80s, 90s, right? There's a lot of respect to the schools. The teachers are like gods, right? And in today's era, the child wants the teacher that I will get my parent to write you an email. The respect is an important aspect that one needs to cultivate. We need to start being in action about a lot of things that we speak.
I personally believe respect must be earned. You cannot force anybody to respect anybody.
Some kind of lines can't be crossed.
In the element of gratitude that needs to be in place across, and it's in the better interest of everybody, including the parents. The career is a stepping stone. Career is not entirely life.
It's a society in whole. One cannot run without the other. A theory and practical has to go hand in hand.
Respect should be for that individual. Respect is never for a position. Keep on talking to them about respect and say that, okay, this is a teacher, you need to respect them. The moment you show them that this is what respect means, they will do that. Parent is not expected to speak to a teacher and tell her how to teach her. I think that's a clear no.
I firmly believe that the parent had no bloody business in getting involved in the class. You land there by any virtue, but then you once you land there, then you enable yourself to be the best version of you possible. If your boss is unhappy with you, you lose your job. If your teacher is unhappy with you, you don't lose anything.
You don't perform, you need to be out of the system. I think that's the only way to address what is it that the institution is doing to enable internships, and second is to make the students responsible for this themselves.
Captives work very, very differently. आपके पास 5-year plan भी रहेगा. But in the startup ecosystem, your plan is 6 months. If you have a plan, it's amazing. That's why I insist that interns should be paid. Okay, because they're actually doing work. See, value is a two-way chain. If there is a data entry operations job that is handed over to you, throw a dashboard back at them.
Setting up evaluation criteria, like you said, makes a huge difference.
Hard work is required. The other one is smart work. Please be original. It has to match your common sense, even if the richest man in this world has said it. Education is still very deep and it requires hard work.
Hard work should essentially solve the efficiency problem.
Yes.
Not the shortcut way of avoiding and compromising. has to do with the productivity and efficiency.
I think maintaining a constant pipeline of both projects and profiles is, I think, the way to solve.
They would be okay with routine work. They understand that it needs to be done. Not everything is going to be by choice and everything. That's all fine. But there has to be that element of something exciting. It could be 10%, 5%, 7%. I don't think majority expect it to be more than 20% of the time.
Right.
And in fact, they're ready to go it beyond their working hours also. That's what they have been doing as students. Not everything happens within classroom.
Whatever comes to you, make it exciting.
How can a student ensure that his good internship is converted into a effective job opportunity for him to pursue?
A lot of readiness has to be done at the campus in terms of getting the kids ready. You're getting an opportunity. Make the best out of it. The first 2 years of your job is to learn, not to earn. Your earning will depend on what you learn in those 2 years.
It's your prerogative to choose whatever you want and don't have to explain.
Both is not an option.
Hey all, welcome all of you to another episode of Titans Talk. Today we are kind of going to talk about how do we prepare students right from academia to the corporate world, and what are the skills and the mindset and the soft skills required to get them smoothly transitioned into a corporate world. So today we have three guests with us who will be sharing their opinions on what we should do and how we should go about it. So starting with you, Samata, you can start, introduce yourself briefly, and then we'll go around.
Sure. Hey, hi all. I'm Samata. Have around 19 plus years of experience. Last 8 plus years in leadership roles in startup ecosystem, and worked with MediBuddy, Wavecove brands. And before that, spent around 12 plus years in ITES segment. The last 2 stints being Symphony, Thelakkat, and Unisys. So that's a little about me professionally. Otherwise, a very happy human being. Love traveling, love to raise my kid, and a completely family person. So that's a little about me. But yeah, thank you. And we'll discuss more professionally, personally, and all the skills required as we go.
Sure. Manoj.
Okay, first of all, thank you, Gautam, for having me here, and great to be with all of you. My name is Manoj Thelakkat. I've been in the industry for the last 28 years. Started with sales and marketing in corporates for 12 years, banking, telecom largely, and then moved into recruitment space for the last 12 plus years now. 16 years plus now. I run Flexi Partners, which is a executive search firm focused on leadership hiring in India and the Middle East markets. 2 years back, we started Eddeed, which is a search and discovery platform for education. We focus on search and discovery of school admissions, after school programs, and we also help educators get the right jobs through a platform called EdJobs. So that's my professional stint so far. Yeah, like Samantha said, a lot of other passions: music, travel, long drives. Not traveling in between Bangalore, but otherwise going out, something I enjoy doing a lot. Yes, a very proud father, a BNI member. Um, love networking, love meeting people, and I love spending time with students largely because I feel there's a lot we can give back to them to kind of help them come into the this side of the world. So I visit a lot of campuses, speak to students there, do a lot of panel discussions, etc. So that's what I do in my free time.
Okay. Wow.
Shruti.
Hi everyone. Pleased to be here and meet all of you. My name is Shruti Agarwal, and I have about 15 years of experience overall. Like I started out with Maersk, and then I started my own chain of restaurants, a Mexican fast casual dining chain of restaurants called Picanto's Mexican Grill in Pune. That's where I'm from, and I happen to be an alumni of Vishwakarma Institute of Technology at that point in time, and I passed out way back in 2006 from engineering. And so, yeah, like I ran the restaurants. And post that, I've been in consumer tech with Flipkart, Paytm, a small stint in EdTech with Lead School. And I'm currently with Zomato as head of a new business that we're launching. That's about me professionally. Personally, I'm a mother now to a 2.5-year-old and a 8-month-old, and we have a dog. So my hands are really full, and I would say what I do in my free time, but there isn't any free time to talk about at the moment. Like I do spend it only primarily with my kids because like work plus bringing up the kids is like a 200% time commitment, not anything less than that. Yeah, so that's about me. But usually in life, I like traveling, I like watching movies, I like meeting people. I think meeting people really gives me a lot of like it's my like it energizes me, I think, to a great extent. And yeah, that's about me. Yes.
Wonderful.
Got it. Amol.
Yeah, so my name is Amol Randive. I currently lead placement and career progression with the Vishwakarma University, wherein we have programs in engineering, design, management, law, pharmacy, architecture, multiple disciplines. And I'm also part of the central training and placement team of the Vishwakarma group for engineering stream primarily. My background is in business management, MBA and BBA specifically. So I'm from the Commerce and Management faculty and now part of the bigger team in university. On personal front, the father of two, my son, younger one is 1.5 years old, daughter is in fourth now. So that's on the personal front. So happy to be here and nice meeting all of you. Looking forward to this conversation.
Great. Perfect. Thanks all of you. So yeah, so I wanted to have a conversation around how graduates can be better prepared when they hit corporate life and all of that, and wanted all of your opinion, you from a CHRO angle, you from a education edtech startup founder kind of an angle, what kind of people you look at, and you from a corporate angle of how you look at it. So the idea is that the idea was probably probably a couple of decades ago a degree is all you needed, but then today a degree has become like a hygiene factor. It is not a differentiator anymore. So I wanted to ask you, Shruti, in terms of key skills, right? When I say key skills, regular tangible skills, not the soft skills. In terms of those key skills, what do you think today's graduates lack and should kind of make them relevant, improve it so that they can make them more relevant?
Sure. So I think there are two parts to this, right? One is the part about being able to get a job, and second is then delivering once you're on the job. The part about getting a job itself, in my view, is a fairly like it's a fairly competitive market out there, and like leaders typically get a lot of people reaching out to them over LinkedIn, etc. So I think one of the main things for graduates to do firstly is to figure out like what are those avenues slash channels available for them to sort of get the job that they want, right? Like figuring out what they want to do is a harder question to answer, but let's say that they know which are the companies that they want to work at, then reaching out to people and sort of communicating with them in the right way and being able to present themselves in the right way in those avenues, I think, is a one very important thing to focus on. So like figuring out your skills to sort of how to sort of like send out messages over LinkedIn, or sort of like your resumes, the pitch that you'll talk about yourself, the skills that you'll emphasize on, or like your experiences or your education. So getting that pitch right, I think, is a key part. Determining the channels that you'll use, and then sort of like how exactly to go about that. And then like assuming all of this goes right and you've landed your job, then once you're at the workplace, I think the things to sort of focus upon as a new graduate. So there are two parts again. I think one is like the attitude related things, and then there's the actual skill related thing. So the skill related thing I'll not sort of focus too much upon, because I'm assuming that a lot of that has been taken care of in your degree itself. So of course you're going to sort of upskill with like AI or whatever it is that you need to be relevant in the job force today. But from an attitude perspective, I think like for someone who's just passed out as a leader, I definitely don't think that they would know. But if they come with the right attitude, if they come with the attitude to learn, if they come with the attitude to find out answers for the questions that they have with their level of thinking, and then asking me, like if you come to your manager, you can't just ask questions, right? You need to figure something out, suggest something, and then sort of say like, this is what I think, why don't you suggest what's the best way of doing this, right? So I think coming in with that attitude, where you're coming in like with the idea of figuring out some of the answers by yourselves, by either talking to your colleagues or doing some research or reading up whatever material exists within the company. So those are the various ways. But like in the kind of roles that I've done, there's not that much subject matter expertise. It's a lot about your attitude, and it's a lot about problem solving, and like thinking on your feet, and sort of like exploring possible solutions and so on. So I think those are the key skills in my view. Of course, the technical skills are something that I'm going to leave the experts to figure out.
Got it. Got it. So, Shruti, as a follow up question to that, right? So, I also say this questioning is a very important part, an important skill.
Hmm.
But asking a very, very open ended question without doing a groundwork is a very lazy way of questioning.
Correct.
You kind of, try to fill up the entire palette with whatever you can find, and then whatever is a missing pieces, that way of questioning is more encouraged.
Right.
So, not questioning where, you go and be like, hey, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this is a very, very bad question. That's a very bad way of questioning. And because we encourage questioning, right? Kids nowadays, kind of come up and ask you a very, very open ended question, expecting you to take them from grade one all the way to, graduation. That's not going to happen.
Correct.
You got to graduate yourself to grade 8,
Yeah.
then you ask a question, then we can kind of help. So that
Absolutely.
is there. And
Yeah.
let's say, for example, if you're looking at freshers in your team, right? So let's say you go to a campus and you hire, okay, and you would, what are the things that you would test the guys? Because you're gonna, let's say the campus is 2,000 graduates that are attending your drive, and then what are the first initial parameters in which you would filter them, and then when you talk to them in person, let's say you've filtered it down to 10 people,
Mm-hmm.
and then in those 10 people, what are the key things that you would look at, which would be key indicators for you to hire them? Because from a business front, we are
Sure.
not talking about technology here,
Right.
but from a
Right.
personal mindset perspective.
Yeah. I think for me, actually, top three would be ethics, communication, and confidence. Yeah.
So that would be the top three.
Yeah.
So when you say ethics, we're talking about work ethics, logging long hours, or ensuring that you deliver what
No,
you
no,
promised.
integrity. Like, I've had taken a number of interviews where, you can tell that whatever the candidate is talking about, like either they've not done it, or so I'm simply coming from an integrity perspective, like where you really present yourself or what you've done in the right manner and in an ethical manner. That's like the basic requirement for me. And that itself is actually not so easy to come by, is what I've seen.
Got it. So taking a leaf from there and then going to Samata, from a skill perspective or from a mindset perspective, she has told what she has told. From an HR perspective, what are the red flags that you would definitely be like, no, clear no? And then what are the key green flags that you also look for, apart from what, Shruti had mentioned?
Yeah, so I sort of agree with the key points that Shruti has mentioned. Uh, I, with your permission, Gautam, would
Please go ahead.
want to speak about green flags first
Okay.
and red flags later. So for me, I think big green flag is, this is what I urge all students to do. And I'll tell you just to give confidence in the answer that I'm giving, right? Um in the companies I worked in the last 10 years, I am a promoter of interns. I have a lot of interns in various departments being hired for 2 to 3 months internship, and I pitch for a paid internship because I say people work, they need to be paid for it,
Absolutely.
and a good paid internship is what I pitch for. and hence have got an opportunity to work with a lot of young workforce. Um, at the same time, it's not only for other departments, it's true with my own department. So in TA, we require a lot of people, and we do have freshers come in. I've also hired freshers from um, MBA colleges to come in as management trainees and then pick up roles inside the organization, right? Convert them into roles inside organization. So the first thing that I look at any student is the attitude to learn. Have they already arrived before reaching the corporate? Then they're not arriving enough for a corporate. That's what I feel. I think they should have the attitude and the aptitude to learn, the hunger to learn, the need to, say, okay, this was in my book. Now, before the book meets practical, it is close to 2 years. So, do they have that hunger to have that self drive to go learn something new, and instead of only challenging a book to the practical world, right? So I think that's something that I am very keen to check on. The second green flag for me is when somebody is interested in life. uh, it can be anything, but there should be that energy, that zeal, the need to do something, right? That vibrance. Because what freshers really add to a boring corporate world is their energy. Okay, so when we have freshers, as a HR, I always want the energy levels of the company to go up, the cross departmental conversations to go up. And if a fresher is lacking energy, is not communicative, is having boundaries and is caught up, I think that becomes a red flag. A green flag is somebody bubbling with energy and wanting to do a lot of things. The third thing is if somebody has excellent communication skills. Okay. And here I don't mean to say a Shashi Tharoor kind of a English. I mean to say somebody who is able to make something very easy, talk about various things, and is able to put across the point as they think, not putting across a point to impress someone, but putting across a point because it intellectually appears, and that's how they see the world, right? Without being afraid of being right or wrong. So some of these, I think, Gautam, are extremely important for me as freshers who join in, because it shows me that they have energy, they will learn, they will strive. And in short, if I have to put it all under one umbrella, I actually urge the freshers to onboard themselves to their careers. They should know what they are up to. And even if they are in the I'm figuring out stage, be open about it and figure out. None of us have figured it out. Okay. So everybody is constantly, every 1.5, 2 years, figuring out what next in their life. So as freshers, it's completely okay to be in a figuring out stage. So be humble about it, and figure out. But take charge of your career. Your career is not your manager's job, not your HR's job, not your teacher's job, not your parents' job. Your career is your job, and organization will onboard you to the role in the organization, the department, the skills required for that department, the training required. The university will onboard you with the basic skills required to survive, right? And so on and so forth. But please onboard yourself to career, do that homework yourself.
Got it. So there is a strong misconception whenever we talk about learning, right? Graduates associate that to examinations.
Yeah.
So the learning is like learning to drive a car. or learning to drive in a ghat road, that doesn't come with an examination. You learn along the way. You
Right.
make some mistakes and you do it. So that is one part. And then, when you say these are all the skills that you're looking at, right? And there is also, like, there are few olden proverbs that go contradictory to what we advise today, like, empty vessels make more noise, and all of that thing, right? So in today's day and age, if you don't make noise, you'll not even be noticed. You'll get lost. It's not your job to go and find whether the intern is working or not. It is his job to come and tell you, hey, I'm here, I'm doing all these things, how are you, and all of that. So that is when he gets the visibility. So, how much do you think is visibility important for a fresher, and how should he go about, tactfully going through that journey and ensuring that he is visible in the organization, not in a way that is very rude or very, very intrusive kind?
Okay. So that's a very tricky question, Gautam, and it's also a little controversial. But I'll take my honest take on it. Right, I'm a very traditional human being. Okay, so I actually believe in the core values that our ancestors have instilled in us, and I do believe that do good, be good. Don't have to go around, you know. Pushing across things and boasting yourself and things like that. I think there are a lot of viewpoints and a lot of perspectives. Just take this as one of the perspectives that you know do good work, be excellent in what you do, and if it requires learning, learn that. Then follow a structure. For your view on visibility, I actually think be visible. More than be visible, as a team member it is your job to report your work to your manager, right? So put a structure across on how do you report this work to your manager. Is it going to be email at the end of every week where you're going to write highlights, lowlights? Is it going to be a 30-minute conversation? Is it going to be a report that you send across to a department? I think finalize that with your manager, send that across, and do add in what you want from them as well. I very strongly believe the first 5 years of your career, you're getting paid to learn. Okay.
Yes.
So the company is paying you for you to learn, and if you change your thought process like that, it'll be fantastic. So please, every now and then, even if your manager has just 2 years experience, no matter how you perceive or the world around perceives about him or her, don't let the noise occupy your mind. Just be nice. Know that there is somebody in that position because they've done something that you have not yet done, and see what you can learn from them. And that's what I would recommend to all the freshers and everybody who's come into an industry at any point in time. There is a soul on the other side. See what is the energy, the positivity you can learn from them, and make it yours. So keep that journey on, and I think you'll grow. There'll be no end.
Got it. Now, Amol, given that you've heard from both Shruti and Samata, wanted to understand, what does Vishwakarma do to, enable students to be better ready for this whole challenging corporate career? What do you guys do so that, it is helpful for the student?
Yeah, I'm smiling because I was going through the list of points like things to have and things to avoid. First and foremost, I think representing students, it's a bit tough to understand all of this, comprehend also the language that we are saying. But by and large, right from the first year, that is induction program these days on our campus, and I'm sure in some other campuses also, we are kind of orienting students about these flags because it's important to tell them early. So in university, we during the induction program itself, we talk about career orientation and these things. Some of those things are difficult to comprehend in the beginning, but it is important that we convey and we repeatedly talk about it. The second one is, I think, periodic input on what is changing and what is constant,
Mm.
because there is a lot of clutter, and they watch reels and there's content coming in. There are so many industry talks these days. There are podcasts available. They're hearing stories. There are memes. There's so much that is going on. So it is important to tell them repeatedly, like every semester, what is constant and what has evolved on the life skills and the approach and etiquette and manners and reporting front. The third and important one is the finishing school sort of training that we run in pre-final and final year. Now this is more of talking and telling. Uh, Additional two good things is one is internship. In all our programs in Vishwakarma group, not just VIT but also VU, there is mandatory internship, and it goes up to like one semester. In engineering, there is provision of 1 year internship, and we believe if they witness culture, they talk to people, they get feedback, they work with diverse teams, because with longer duration you get to work with multiple people.
Right.
If it is a shorter duration, you might be reporting to only one person and you're part of some teams. With a longer duration, company can put you in a project that is more diverse and
Yeah.
also cross functional and also more like long term horizon.
Correct.
And we are also looking at projects in pre final years. These days, with Centers of Excellence and Industry on Campus initiative, our second year, third year students in BTech are also pursuing projects with industry mentors. They might not be working from company or also remotely, but they are at least mentored by industry person. The problem statement comes from company and it's mentored by faculty. This gives them better idea of what industry expects in action, because as they present, there is feedback versus faculty moderating it for them. So these are some things that we are, I think, attempting. And then there's always these certifications, industry standard assessments, jury members that I think talk about in due course.
Got it. So Manoj, kind of moving here, right? I wanted to understand, how do you think current education program is it effective or not effective in terms of preparing, graduates for the corporate world? Do these qualities that Shruti and Samata mentioned, are they there, or what is the challenge that we're facing after the graduate is coming into the corporate world?
Okay, so I'm very happy to hear what Shruti and Samantha said, because coming from a corporate side, it's very interesting to see the perspective there. I'm very happy to see what Amol is saying, because from a readiness perspective, there is a lot of work being done. I want to put certain things up front straight, which I'm very closely believing in. And after spending 28 years doing this, um, 85% of us are not doing things that we studied for. Let's be honest upfront on that. Most of us are doing things way off what we studied. Those certificates mean nothing today. Those degree certificates or postgrad certificates that you earned with so much of effort mean nothing today. You are an engineer who spent so much of time learning engineering, and suddenly you're doing sales. Yeah, it helps you in certain way, but it could have been anything. It is just your persona. So there are two things that I see, um, that is evolving over a period of time. One is the whole corporate landscape has changed. It's flipped upside down. What was there when I joined many years back
Right.
is not the corporate world that is today. Unfortunately, the education system has not evolved at the pace the corporate world is evolving. We are still studying books that were written many decades back. They're still going through that books. There is no involvement happening at a body level, wherein we say that, is this going to help the student in that transition? That's one major lacuna which is there. The professors, while I accept that a lot of them are putting in a lot of effort in terms of updating themselves, a vast majority of them, unfortunately, are not updated in terms of what is happening. So it's not just a college level. You go to a preschool level,
Mm.
the teacher is not equipped to handle that child. The child has way more exposure to what is happening in the world than the teacher has. And that's where a constant struggle is happening. So my son talks about a AI or a chat GPT. The teacher has no clue. The teacher has no clue to understand if that project submission which is being done has been done through a chat GPT or has a child written it themselves, because the teacher has no clue on that. So getting the team ready for the corporate world is not just about getting the students ready, but it is also getting the teachers and the academia ready for it. Now what do? We are actually doing it, unfortunately, when the kid is ready to get into corporate. All our campus to corporate programs, all our group discussions and all of that stuff start when it is 6 months to the campus,
Right.
and you're essentially kind of making a fast food QSR kind of a stuff, and saying that okay, now 6 months I've gone made you run through this program, now you are ready to go and hit the campus. What we misunderstanding is it takes 6 seconds for a recruiter to analyze a CV. Is the child's CV even ready to be evaluated? I went to a campus wherein they wanted me to do a campus to corporate program. Unfortunately, we couldn't do it because of the cost factor and a lot of stuff. And one of the kids came to us for an interview with a 6-pager CV, a 6-pager CV. And I asked him, why is it a 6-pager CV? So he said, sir, the guy who came and taught us said that all CVs should be 6 page. And I'm saying, who's got the time to run through 6 pages of what? And what is it written? Written everything right from his parents, where he comes from. It's a whole life story which is written in 6 pages. What am I looking at? I'm looking at quantifiable data of what you have done. It needs 1 page. So, do we start from there? When does it start? It ideally should start when the child is going into the campus and not when the child is coming out of the campus. Can we prepare a child to say that, okay, you are going into corporate life, be ready now? And the campus to corporate should start when the moment the kid is getting into the campus and not when the kid is going out of the campus. So that's the first part. When you're going for an internship, is a kid being prepared to the campus to corporate environment? Now, it's great to see Samata saying about the paid internships. Unfortunately, most corporates do not do it, and unfortunately most campuses do not promote it. They're just saying that okay, go find some place where you can sit for the next 2 months, come back with a certificate. That's all I'm looking at, because I want you to come back with a certificate. Now, what are the campuses promoting? Campuses are promoting that okay, a Wipro is coming, an Infi is coming, a Zomato is coming, or an Amazon is coming to my campus to do the interview. The parent is going and paying the money, getting the admission done. The kid is already there, that okay, I just need to spend 3 years here, and an Amazon is going to come and hire me. They're not spending time in terms of that self improvement part, unfortunately, because there is some kind of a mindset which is created inside the child that we will make you ready. The fact is, the campus can only help in certain extent. Everything else has to be done by the child. That unfortunately is not going in, which is one campus which is teaching them public speaking, for example. I'm a public speaking coach, spent last 20 years coaching thousands of kids on public speaking. I've gone to campuses. Not one campus is spending enough time in creating a public speaking program for a child. Now, how do you expect a child to explain himself in 30 seconds? What is the time that these girls are going to give them with the first question, tell me about yourself? Can he tell about himself in 30 seconds? Unfortunately, no. Now, we can talk about how to improve himself when he's inside the campus. We are not talking about how to get into that corporate. I think that 3 to 5 years of transition period, one part is academia where he learns the subjects, all of that stuff. I think it 50% should be readiness programs. It can't be the other way around. Today, I would say, I don't know, the campuses that I've gone to, I've spoken to a lot of educators. I think 80% or 90% is still focused on academia, getting that certificate out, getting that degree mark sheets out, and all that stuff. 10% is where we spend on readiness. We need to create a program, at least 50% is spent on readiness. It may not be corporate readiness, it could be entrepreneurial readiness.
Right.
Mm.
Life
It could be
readiness.
anything. It could be anything. The kid wants to go become a movie star. Help him through that. How much of academia is going to help him through his life? 50%. Because none of us are doing the jobs that we studied for. So that's what I think. So it's more than corporate readiness. I think it's academia readiness, wherein the campuses are ready to say that I will prepare you for life, and let the child decide what he wants to do later on. Not that okay, I will send you to an interview in Amazon and I will ensure that you don't take another interview. So those clauses needs to be much more relaxed, and the kid should be given that exposure. I'm seeing a lot of campuses getting um, speakers from outside, giving them a perspective, which is a great thing to do. Interaction, but these are all one-way communication mostly. The guy comes, speaks for 1 hour, is taken away and gone. The interaction is not happening with the child. So creating that kind of an environment to tell them that this is available, like Amol, what you said is so true. It's evolving, right? As we speak, the industry is evolving. As we speak, not even next month, next year. It's evolving on a daily basis. How much are your educators inclined to it? How much is the student inclined to it? Because the corporate is moving fast. It's what I call it's a Rajdhani Express or a Vande Bharat Express, and then the academia is a passenger train. So the catching up needs to be much more faster, is what I think of.
So, interesting to note, right? 2007 is when the first smartphone came, and now, in the last decade or so, kids learn to use smartphones before they learn to talk.
Absolutely.
And the amount of exposure that the kids have is tremendous. And, yesterday I went to my son's school, and my son's teacher comes up to me and says, "Hey, you know what, your son is telling me that he'll make his mother write an email if I force him to eat." So my son is 4.5. Okay. And she had gone and told the head of primary year program that, "Hey, you know what, this kid is saying if you get any email, just so that be sure that I am not forcing him, he's threatening me." So I can't imagine. So
He's 4.5.
he's 4.5.
We are talking about 20-year-old kids.
20 years. So he's 4.5. And, they've, like, my son is like, "Mom, take me to a Chick-fil-A." My wife doesn't know what's a Chick-fil-A. She has never been to the States. My son sees it on a YouTube video and he thinks Chick-fil-A is right here. And then one day he takes a golf club and, he starts banging the wall. I'm like, "The club will break. Wait." He's like, "No, I want to build a secret room inside here." Why is there not a stairs inside our house? So these are the kind of questions that kids come up with these days. And, probably the academia, I would not say the entire academia, probably the academia that is not paid well is not prepared to, do it. So I wanted to switch, Amol, especially
I'll just cut there. I don't think it's anything to do with the paid academia versus non-paid academia. I
not
think it's
paid, not paid as in,
Syllabus.
Paid
I'm
well.
not talking about the school fees. I'm talking about the teachers
remuneration.
compensated well.
I got it. So I think it all comes from the vision of that campus. Or I think it all
Yeah.
comes from there. It is not about. I've seen the best of the highest paid professors absolutely clueless about what is happening around them. They're still in the 90s and the 2000s, and 2000s is 25 years back, right? We've moved on today. You name it, it is coming to your house. I mean, how many of us go and buy stuff? Your millions of billions are being spent by these guys on ensuring that the food is reaching. So I put my tawa on the stove and then order, still things are coming. That's the speed that we are talking about. And you have a whole set of educators still living in the 2000s. So it's nothing to do with the money part. I think it's to do with the fact that education is a very noble profession. That's something that we need to understand, agree upon. It's not suited for everybody. Education as an industry is not suited for everybody. Teaching as a profession is not suited for anybody. It's not the best pay masters. I agree. It's a fact. Education doesn't pay like a lot of other industry. But if you're decided that you need to be there, then you need to be there 100% because you're going to change into Gautam, simple. If all IIM professors decided to be, they create entrepreneurs, they create the biggest entrepreneurs in the world. Why are they not the entrepreneurs then? They would have probably made 100 times more money by becoming an entrepreneur than teaching, because they've decided that they want to teach and create the next set of entrepreneurs. That's a call that you've taken. So I don't agree that it is money. It is more in terms of the willingness that I am going to put in that time to help this child be somebody. So that's my take on that.
But
I
I think there's also a little bit of lack of incentive. Like, what is it that professors are measured upon by the university that they're part of? Like, it's still grades, right? Like, I'm guessing that if students are delivering good grades, that means that the professor is good. If the students are getting placed and or and whatever packages are, so that those are the metrics. Like, what is not being measured is what is actually happening once they're inside the company that they're at, right? Like, what kind, how many people sort of lasted for how long, in which job, how did they do? So like that whole loop, sort of like that feedback loop is missing, where the professors are probably not being valued on all the comprehensive metrics that they should be valued under.
Absolutely. And why during the conversation, Gautam, again, sorry to stop you.
No, go ahead. I wanted you to talk. I was like, Samata, go ahead.
Okay. So, one of the important things that came up uh, in our conversations was, you somewhere very significantly brought up a point that children today have access to information more than what an academia could give. So and that is true. I've seen that with freshers. I'm seeing it with my pre-teenager. So it is very true that children today have a lot of access to information. What I want to tell them is having access to information is not power. Having access to right information is power. So the right information is something you have to rely back on professionals, on your coaches to help you get that right, get the right information. I think that is one important thing. The second thing that I would request the academias to do is because they have this access to information, they are going to be more powerful, more energetic, more stubborn, more everything, more of everything, right? So, my request is focus on their mental health, because somewhere internally they're not sure. That's what today's generation is suffering with, is being unsure. They're just very confident outside because we are selling confidence and buying confidence. We are selling teamwork, buying teamwork, so they behave like they are teamwork. It's actually not there because the internal surety is not there. So if people can work, the academia can work on their mental health, can work on making them more confident, being more sure of themselves internally, uh, they will become authentic then. But the problem is, I think there's a lot of self doubt which is covered by arrogance and confidence.
I agree. True.
And that is being bought. So if anybody looks arrogant, we say intelligent hai, isliye arrogant hai. And if anybody tells out those key words that we want to listen to, then we say smart hai. And if anybody is blurting out this, dressing up really well, showing up and acting flashy, we say बहुत confident hai. I would request that, and I would request all the managers, all the leaders who are hiring, and especially I would request the academia that uh, deprioritize and see is confidence inside, because in India, in evolving India, I think there are 4 5 parts of India. The key two segments is the one who is ready to do anything to earn the next money, because that needs to go back home and run the fuel at home. And there is another India which can wait for another 18 months to see what they want to do in life. And until then, मैं drums bajaunga. So there is this two sides of it. So you will always see children grappling and their friends across, right? So you'll see them grappling, you will see them behaving very different. What I think, especially with this Rajdhani Express and the Vande Bharat Express and passenger train example, is what we are really missing out is the world has progressed so much. Uh, children are seeing the worldview so fast than what maybe you and I saw. Um, and we are teaching them still what we thought. I think that was a very powerful point. I think we need to upgrade on whom we are teaching. There is a participant, there is somebody who comes to school, is not the same person who was coming to school 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Today's teenager is very different. Today's student is very different. So I think that personalization, customization, um, by adding a syllabus on mental health or personality building is very important in today's world. I think it is also shown by metrics around the suicide rates in students is highest,
Yes.
all-time highest. And why is that happening? That's just because they're not sure. But is the same person not very confident? Very confident. Nobody would even guess that that person would suicide. So I would request that um, let us all focus back on the participant in the schoolroom. And it's a different human being there. And I think that human being deserves that respect, needs that acknowledgement that he's filled with information. And then orienting that to what is the right information and why is that the right information, and helping them being more sure of themselves. I think that's a area, that's a role an academia can do to bridge the gap.
Gautam, if I can add something there. Sorry, Amol is adding? Or?
No,
Okay.
go ahead.
Brilliant point that you brought up, Samantha, because I personally believe, while I gave the example of Rajdhani and this thing, that was more in terms of the academia being going a little more faster. But I still believe that there needs to be people in the passenger train.
Mhm.
Not everybody needs to be in the Rajdhani or a Vande Bharat. It's
Yeah.
perfectly fine to be in a passenger train, go slow. Even if you don't move, it is fine. You don't even need to be in a train, it is fine, because there is opportunities for everybody out there. Not everybody needs to be in that fast paced world out there.
Absolutely.
You're an artist, you don't need to be in that Rajdhani. You can sit and do it. There are so many other opportunities which are out there. The problem is we somehow put them into that competitive landscape very early in life. Like what you said, what is the metrics that a student is rated on? A student, unfortunately, is rated on the metrics of marks, the grades, right? And anybody who's not capable out there is disregarded. And as somebody who's not complacent enough to kind of reach that pinnacle,
Right. Yeah.
then
Yeah.
and then you, on the other side, you come up with examples of Mark Zuckerberg or somebody who's you saying is a college dropout. I mean, they dropped out from Harvard. They did not drop out from some random college. They reached there and they decided not to. So the examples that we are being setting to the kids are also wrong at some point of time, right? So when you say that, it is perfectly fine to be different.
Right.
You don't have to be there, you have to be there. And this is where I think, as an education system, we need to move into what we believe as individualistic learning plans, wherein we understand the child, the learning plan should be specific to that child and not a generalistic education plan. Unfortunately, today's education plan, and I'm not talking about colleges, I'm talking about schools largely, is somewhere wherein everybody is chopped into a generalistic thing. So you are bright, you are low. This lower guy is brought up, the topper is brought down, and then you're chopping both sides and saying that okay, this is where we all
The
need to be,
median is,
because that is at the convenience of the educator or a teacher, saying that okay, I cannot handle a kid who's too brilliant in math because I can't go on that pace. Then you bring them, chop them in to a certain way that this is perfect. Now that's what the unfortunately the education system is doing to us, and we are telling the kids that you need to be competitive. It's
So, do you think
perfectly
that
fine.
this individualistic plan per child is something that applies to higher education also?
It can, if you brought up the child in that way. Now
Talk about it.
what a
Okay.
large chunk of kids are going in and doing in a campus is because, and I'm seeing a change today, Shruti. Many of them went into that particular campus because there was a pressure.
Right.
It is either a parental pressure or a peer pressure or some pressure, and said that hey, I want to get into a MBA. Why? There's no answer to that. Why? I want to get in there.
Correct.
They don't even know what they're going to learn. Or now
It's the done thing.
that can happen only when your formative years are strong. When a child, it's too late when you're trying to create an individualistic learning plan in an MBA college. You can't do it. But when your formative years is working with individualistic learning plans, the teachers are working with the child based on the child's strengths and working around it. Then when the child is coming to the higher education, the kid is already prepared.
Right.
They know what they are good at. And then it is still a, as I said, you end up there and then you will figure out the world. Like Samantha said, it's they are going to evolve every second year, third year. You will figure out that hey, HR is not meant for me, let me move into sales. This nothing is meant for me, let me go and start an idli shop. Fine, they will figure it out. But by then you're working with adults, you're no more working with children.
So, Amol, I wanted to, I know Vishwakarma does more than this. So, I wanted you to highlight key, how in Vishwakarma you ensure that, marks are not the only criteria in which students are working towards. And then I have three questions. Okay. Second on the teachers and faculty front, and third on the mental health front. So, first I'll want to understand, how complex is the evaluation system so that you are trying to be a holistic developmental educational institution.
I think good number of points so far. I'm just trying my best. I'll try my best to cover good number of points from there. Uh, and I'll talk about things that we are doing in Vishwakarma rather than talking about things and things that can be done by somebody else somewhere. The first and foremost is I think the flexibility part of it, which Manoj mentioned about. How do we bring allow individual, and that also answers Samata's point about understanding individual as an individual. I won't call it personalization because that would be more of an industry term, which we as an academicians, and there are some, not everything is good about it also, because we have to look at collective society as a whole.
Yeah.
When we are building characters and personalities, I'm using term characters for a reason. It's for the whole bigger purpose, right, and the bigger picture of it. So there is industry as one of the stakeholders that we need to address to. There are parents with their own unique set of expectations. There are students with aspirations, if not anything else, and there's a larger society. If I have to only address these four, I'm sure back on the campus, people are also worried about compliance and the government and regulation. But I won't bring that in the conversation for now. So with these three, four things, you can imagine the variety of in the expectations, students, parents, industry, and society at large. So that's something that I think the educators are trying to deal with. And thankfully, in Vishwakarma, we look at all these four in a single meeting and in a single slide, if I'm to put it this way. That we look at is top three on student front, top three on industry, society, and parents, because you have to look at it all together. Otherwise, one day we're talking about students, tomorrow there is company, so we're talking about industry. Day after we're talking about national cause and something like that. It doesn't work. So we're trying to look at holistic picture and putting all these three, four together. We have a model called inclusive participatory developmental model, IPAR, in university that talks about these critical stakeholders all at once. The second one is, I think we have an activity called batch profiling, wherein right in the first year we ask them about their aspirations. We're not talking about preparedness and strengths and weaknesses in the beginning, because it's not easy for them to, it's contextual also.
Absolutely.
What is your strength in terms of industry might not be strength actually when you're involved in community work. Prima facie, I'm saying it's difficult. So we're looking at aspirations of the student. We try and map parents' expectations, as mentioned by students. We don't talk to parents yet. We might have to. In schools, it is essential. And we use LinkedIn Talent Insights for the industry trends. And something that you said makes a lot of sense. I kind of run through these reports for students and faculty, which shows academic qualifications and disciplines and backgrounds and locations of people and where they are now. For example, I'm to run the report of let's say CEOs of different companies in a particular sector. It kind of gives patterns. We are partner with LinkedIn for this particular license, and we use that. It gives us clear idea, and we tell this to students also. It is okay that people from different academic disciplines get into different roles. So all these boundaries between hard skills and soft skills, let's look at transferable skills as an essential and a life skill as a bigger part there. And then you look at your core strengths that you can leverage across. That also gives them a bit of confidence, although not everyone is okay with it because the expectations are different.
Absolutely.
The second one is, I think, involving them in projects right from the first year. Uh, with engineering, it's a bit of a challenge, to be honest, because it is highly competitive on a lot of parameters. The pace of change is faster. There are a lot of segments that are coming in within engineering. There are a lot of disciplines like AI, machine learning, big data, analytics, so on and so forth, and everyone trying to do something unique there. So it's highly competitive on that front. On university front, we have design, social sciences, pharmacy, law, commerce and management. I think that's where we are able to look at more holistic picture in a more natural way, because these disciplines kind of allow us to look at uniqueness of these students, and also the pace is slightly different. So, and on a government front, I think with the National Education Policy 2020, government is insisting that students should not learn only from the core discipline. In fact, it is mandated that uh, by and large, I don't know to get wrong on this number, but by and large, at least one third has to be from other disciplines. So that's the level that we are talking about, and that other discipline is not a related discipline. A techie has to learn from the humanities and social sciences or the business side.
Okay.
Someone in the business side has to look at the creative or the tech side, and vice versa. And the bigger piece of, I think, educating teachers. There's a lot of unlearning, relearning, and learning on the go. It's a bigger task for any campus, for that matter, and for us also, I think, back on campus. And then there is vision, there is structure, there is system, there is culture. There are a lot of things to be addressed. There are campuses that are trying to do good on most of these parameters, but in nutshell, it's a task in itself, to be honest, because three of you talking about your expectations and perspectives on what is essential. I was looking at the commonalities and also the unique points that kind of came in. And imagine I have 600 recruiters, and for engineering we have about 400
Okay.
from like 20-25 different sectors, and the countries of origin and all of that. You just add to it, and then the kind of technologies that these companies are working in, also the value system that all the companies follow. I want to be respectful to all, but you understand the difference, right, in terms of values and what is essential. So that itself is a task. But something like a business system, important is to understand our space as campus, understand our audience, that is students, understand the parents that we are answerable to, and understand the local ecosystem. That is important. If my students are going to work in a particular region, I would better be mindful of the expectations of that region, because not everything can be global, and we don't have choice. We can't be local also. We have to find that balance. So we also do something like the geographic mapping to see these are the 5 locations that we are on our target list, because it is necessary given our stakeholders. We can't match on all the fronts, but we can at least try our best in certain areas, and to the extent possible communicate it openly, visually, to faculty, students, and parents, that these are our priorities. Give us feedback, because it can't be everything.
Got it. Got it. I'll just want to add to what Amol said. Amol, to me, and I'm addressing you as an academician side of it.
Right.
There are two parts. One is a hard skill part. Second is a soft skill part. Campuses are focusing on the hard skill part and a very little focus on the soft skill part. Soft skill is generally expected to be learned on their own or whatever it is. I'll take a simple example like grooming.
Hmm.
We've still not figured out if it is going to be the hard skill part or the soft skill part. When a kid is coming out into the camp corporate for an interview, how is a child expected to look? How is he expected to dress up? What to wear? How to wear? What time to reach? Etc. 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 Tons of stuff. I'm not looking at the physical experience, physical appearance alone. Now, when I've spoken to campuses, I understand that this is part of something that is done as part of the campus to corporate experience or whatever it is. It is taught to them 1 month before the interviews start. Unless you put it as a habit, from the day one the kid is in the campus, grooming will never change. Because I'm not talking about having a close hair or a beard, or kids emulate from what they see outside. I mean, it's perfectly fine to walk like a Ranbir Kapoor or a Ranveer Singh in a campus. As long as it is done, they're expecting that to be taken in a campus also. Now, there are corporates which are okay with it.
Yes.
But if you are a sales guy, you are a customer facing guy, you are expected to be in a certain way, right? And then the excuse that come up to me is that if Steve Jobs can wear a t-shirt, why can't I?
Context.
Never judge a book by the cover, etc. So these are all the cliches that come up, and I tell them the book has a cover for a purpose. When is the last time you put a book without a cover. You always pick a book looking at the cover. That's how we pick you also. Now, if the campus can work on this part, which is the hard skill versus the soft skill part, hard skill I'm largely putting in the academic side of it. Soft skill is everything else. Hard skill can probably get you into the door of the corporate. You've got great marks, you've got all that stuff, everything in the resume looks good, but only soft skill can get you inside the corporate. I hope you guys
Yeah,
agree to that.
absolutely.
That part is what is missing.
So on I think he also asked about the evaluation. I'll address it now. I think the what we are attempting to do now. I'm saying attempting because we started this last year. We are looking at this evaluation rubrics. So we are not just looking at the output that student presents to us. We are also looking at the groundwork done. In the sense, the teacher is supposed to kind of get into details of how this assignment is completed. When did that student start preparation? Was it done
Okay.
in a collaborative way?
Mm.
Have they used technology if technology was to be used? If it was told that it is to be done without the help of technology, some tasks, I'm saying, is it done that way? So there are marks, academic language. So there are marks, or you can say points, for the preparedness and how it is done, the process that is followed.
Okay.
And two, there are marks for reflection. In the
Okay.
sense, output is fine, you have it, I can see it, looks good. Like prototype is to be prepared, prototype is ready, looks good. On lot of parameters you score well. What are your learnings in the process? If you have to do this again, or if you have to do a better version of this, what things will you implement? What mistakes have you made? So this element of, I think, preparedness, scores for preparedness and scores for reflection is something that we are trying to bring in. Not really one third for each of these three, but I think about 40% is for these two right now.
Mm.
So we are not just looking at the output, and I think that is in line with how industry would
Yeah,
expect it
yeah,
to be.
Correct.
yeah, that's
Because
great.
if you have followed the right process, you can repeat it, you can make it scalable.
Correct.
And if there is reflection, then you can adapt it to different
Improve.
scenario.
Yeah.
You can apply it somewhere else. So that's on the in terms of projects and other assessment assignments. With MCQs and payment paper, this is not possible. But with presentations and project work, this is there. And the second one, and the only, I think, the shorter version would be the involving industry jury in the internship assessment. So what we are doing with BTech program is mid-sem review is to be joined by industry mentor of that student, and it's a live virtual, not like a send us a note or give us feedback on a scale of 10. The we request industry person to join mid-sem and also end of the semester.
Okay.
Mm.
That
Okay.
puts bit of pressure on the student, and also the student has to be realistic. There's a teacher, there's an industry mentor, so these two mentors and the student is presenting. That's also, I think, taking care of a lot of misreporting and encouraging them to state the facts and also keep communicating on both the ends so that the people are on the same page. And they also encourage them to clarify certain things, that, sir, I'm going to say this, is this okay? I'm planning to present it this way. They would get those slide deck, that deck reviewed. That's on the internship front. There's a lot more to do, but I thought of sharing these two.
Yeah.
So from Karthik, right? Whenever Karthik had come, so one thing that I liked about the whole evaluation system is about 25% weightage is given to the academic performance, and there are performances for publications, the number of papers you make, and then these are not regular publications; these are accredited publications. So you will have to go and present it at a certain level in a certain conference. So that has some weightage. And then they also have a every semester they have an industry project where the project is given to them, and then they go reverse. They learn whatever is the skill required for the project, and then you learn that skill, come and apply it. You don't have to go through the full subject. You'll just learn as much as required to come back and do it. And then on top of this, there is an industry project is when you have an R&D lab in your firm, and then you are doing say 100 things, but you would want to do 500 things. So they will have a center of excellence where the students are working on these remaining 400 things, for example.
Right.
So then what happens is, if anything sees the light of the day, then the entire student or the student set that worked on it is absorbed
Gets
into
it.
the company, so they have know-how as well. And then finally, when it comes to the final year thing, they have a full-time internship. So it's academic commitment free full-time internship at your company. So he's like a full-time employee at a stipend. And then by the time he joins you, he's a 2-year experienced fresher at a fresher salary. So
Mm.
that is what they kind of do, and that is something that I see as a very sustainable model to get as close as possible to the industry from an academia initiative.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is what I wanted to kind of highlight, so that we know that this is being done in India. And the NIRF ranking is also very, very holistic. It is not focusing only on your academic. It focuses on your research, it focuses on your industry connection, focuses on your placements, your
Mm.
perception. So it kind of encompasses all these things. And colleges that focus on upping their NIRF ranking, right, have to develop holistically.
Mm.
It cannot happen like you just focus on academics and all of that. So that is a very important part. And given that we've talked so much about academics, right, Amol, I wonder, because faculty is a key part of academics without which it will not run. And one thing that I've observed mostly in colleges, right, the colleges where faculty stick longer tend to pay
Mm.
well. They pay according to the pay scale that the central government declares. So no matter where they go, even to an IIT or an IIM, they will get paid in the same scale. So it disincentivizes them to keep looking out.
Right.
So when you stop looking out, and if you're satisfied that your college pays you well, that is when you start caring about the student welfare, or else you are worried about your own welfare. So then there is no time to think about the student.
Yeah.
So, and I see very successful educational institutions, people sticking there for 15, 20, 25 years.
Mm.
And you look at all these aspiring people who run it like some you know like run of the mill trading floor kind of an attitude in terms of schools and colleges. There, even as an industry, if I put my money and set up a center of excellence and I train a teacher, next year he's not there, all the money that I've put is down the drain in a minute. So it's essential that we choose colleges to partner with where they pay well, they take care of their staff well, and the stickiness of the staff is very high. And
Mm.
those are the colleges where our kids will get the maximum exposure and maximum attention. So, Amol, I wanted to understand. So, tell me, I've seen this in 3, 4 universities which are really top, and it's something that I've observed in Vishwakarma as well. Why do Vishwakarma has the highest stickiness in terms of faculty, and why do you have student at the core of everything? What makes the teacher so different?
So I think first thing is it is run by entrepreneurs. So there's our president is relatively young compared to I think most of the trustees that you see. Also, the because of the entrepreneurial background, there is that element of creativity, innovation, flexibility, and respect for customer, if I may use that word, and also understanding of the market and trying to be relevant. Three is the culture part of it. So strong roots, including the the spiritual connections, if I can say that, not the religious but spiritual for sure. And taking care of people well, because if we take care of, as they say, taking care of employees so that employees take good care of the customer, so that seems to work with us. Our appeal to industry has changed drastically, I think, since maybe I would say 21 or so. We did one program exclusively on research and innovation. Not many campuses do that, wherein we had 100 industry leaders. The event was in, obviously, all the hospitality and everything was done well, and we didn't utter a word about internship or placement. You can only imagine a campus doing that. A full day program with 100 approx 100 industry leaders from MNCs in all over India, and we didn't utter a word about internship and placement. Why? Because we wanted to talk about projects, research, and innovation. So our appeal to industry partners is, if we are ready to include projects in the pre-final years, we are ready to include faculty members in industry projects, not just in teaching learning. We would like faculty to take responsibility of the projects, because students are students. They're bound to make mistakes.
Right.
They're bound to come back with a lot of requests and alterations and back and forth. But if the faculty takes responsibility, faculty can also arrange for a substitute if the student has to back out for some obvious reasons or some reasons that are good in the interest of all. So faculty taking responsibility is there, which means faculty would need bit of access, not to data, but to, I think, those professionals who are handling that project. Because if faculty is not going to get an opportunity to talk to the manager,
Mm.
how would that faculty know what is the expectation? It's all
Yes.
guesswork. And students narrating it to faculty, you can understand the limitations.
Mm.
So what we are saying is give us more problem statements to work on, so that faculty and students can work on those problem statements. Resource is not an issue. You define the access, the physical access in the campus. You might give it once a week, once a month, or you say that there'll be one visit every 2 months. That's more than enough. But let there be dialogue, and give us problem statements so that we, our teachers and students, can work on it. And then you pick the faculty also. You might want to engage 5 teachers to begin with, and you select that you'll work with these two. We're okay with that.
Mm.
You're not saying we'll nominate those.
Right.
Same with students. You pick 20 students to interact with, let's say any one of you or 3 of you, and you decide that I'll work with these 6 students in the first lot without any monetary commitment. You work with them, mentor them, you select 3 for maybe summer internship, and you select 1 or 2 of these for semester long internship.
Hmm.
And observe if needed. So the whole idea is getting closer, doing it hands on, rather than we trying to showcase them and tell them. It was good for our era maybe 20 years ago, when there was no visual, the content available to say, how corporate looks like. Now with the video content available, they can really see how office looks like, how people behave, and how people
Mm.
walk and talk. So a lot of content is available. What they need now is to experience different scenarios, right? So the pitch part of it, the asking questions, now how many questions, what question is appropriate, not appropriate, there is learning on the go, right?
Nice.
If they are working with industry hands on right from the second year, third year, they get to see, they'll have more opportunities to make mistakes.
Yeah, yeah. So Amol, I just have something to say here.
Right.
This was around I think a year ago. Like, so my family has a family business in Pune, and it's a engineering company. And like I was going through some of the data, and I saw that there was a lot of like one of the heat treatment processes had a very high rejection rate. So it was like a 30% reject rate. And I thought that was very high. So like they had been trying to do a number of solutions and like implement a number of things, but it hadn't come down. So I looked up all the engineering colleges in Pune and tried to find a way to get in touch with the college to offer this as a problem statement to the colleges of Pune. I wrote to about 12, including Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, and I didn't get a response from any of them. I called up. I till date I have those emails. I haven't gotten a response. So it's not even very like clear out there for any entrepreneur or any company that how exactly are they supposed to like close this loop with the institution, because there's a lot of SME space happening, right? And they don't have like people to like who have the contacts or whatever to initiate this. So a very practical thing is like, what is that forum? Like, what is the solve that we have put in place for access to the industry, right? Like having a one-off event or having that list of 400 recruiters, that's one way of, but like creating that whole channel to sort of solve for something as basic as this, that if someone is just like a turnover of like 3 cr a year, like even if that kind of a company has a problem statement, the institutions should be willing to take those up, right? But firstly, like those are not glamorous enough for the students, and secondly, I think they're not glamorous enough for the institutions as well, because you can't put it on your website, right? That company's name.
That's a major
So
area of concern.
I think whereas the learning, in my view, is tremendous for
Absolutely.
the student.
More with these
But
forms.
yeah, yeah,
So I'll answer that. Probably it went into the wrong channel.
right.
So there is one industry connect dean that they have for Vishwakarma,
Okay.
and his KRA is to ensure that there are enough industry projects to work on.
Okay.
So what I'll do is, the next step, I'll connect you to the industry connect
Yeah,
team,
yeah, that'll be
and
great.
then they will take this up, and then they will go
Yeah,
from there.
yeah, for
Okay.
sure. I
So
think that's a
that
great, and maybe to sort of put this
See,
out
what I'm
clearly on the
wondering as
website.
we are discussing is we have one of the professors who has worked with Philips Healthcare, Kirloskar Oil Engines, and also IMS powder and couple of other SMEs also,
Okay.
specifically on the heat transfer and the heat
Okay.
systems. And I'm
You had
wondering, where is that email? How could this happen? And
Right, yeah.
but anyways, that's a major area of concern. I can
Right.
understand on behalf of Vishwakarma
Right,
and also
right.
other campuses
Hmm.
that channel needs to be established,
Yeah.
and also the response time
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the kind of the courage that is there in,
Right.
and also the response to say that okay, maybe I'm not the right person, but at least
Yeah.
I'll route it somewhere.
Yeah.
That's the area of improvement on lot of fronts
Right.
on academia, and I think we need to work on that, because then these opportunities are lost.
Right.
And it's just, I'm sure, you reaching out to 12 campuses, it could have been one campus taking it up and probably 10 more entrepreneurs sharing the problem statement,
Yeah.
or 10
yeah.
more problem statements from the same company or
Correct.
their
Yeah.
partners and vendors.
Yeah.
uh, that's a major area of improvement
So there's
for
just
us.
one thing that is coming up as a thought, which I do want to acknowledge the lot of academias, right? Uh, so in years when I grew up, 80s, 90s, right? There's a lot of respect to the schools. The teachers are like gods, right? And in today's era, the child wants the teacher that I will get my parent to write you an email. To I don't I know of so my father-in-law is a teacher, and I
Good you
know.
said it. I didn't want to bring it up for the
Oh.
discussion for a reason, but
No, but I do see that, there was this huge respect to the society changing, the world changing. Uh, what I have observed, and I've been part of quite a few of guest lectures as well, So one, in my observation, one constant trend that I've seen is there is a lot of complex that plays. Okay. One complex is where the student wants to be respected more because they have more information. And there is this expectation that the student should come and learn everything without asking questions, because we are telling, but the student wouldn't, that has changed. And somewhere that needs a fix. The student needs to be respected, right? Because it's a different human being now.
right.
The second thing is, irrespective of how much the student and the parent population has seen a change, the respect for a teacher can't go down. I think the professors, the teachers deserve a lot of respect. It is a thankless job in a way, where they spend their whole life trying to educate people and get them to do something in their best abilities, right? So I think at no point in time, and I would want to bring up one incident where I felt very strongly about it. It was during Corona, and there was this Hindi class going on. I was working from the hall dining table. My son was in his room. But I have that passive listening skills because I want to make sure he's learning, right? And
Because you're a mom.
Passive listening skill.
I mean, I'm focusing on something else, but I'm
Okay.
also listening to. And then I suddenly hear a male voice uh, shouting at the teacher and expecting an apology. To my worry, I went inside the room and I tried to focus on what's really happening. And then he was telling, uh, you know, I, he was telling this is a language alien to us. We are not used to Hindi. I don't know Hindi myself. What will I teach my son? The way you are teaching is not helping him learn Hindi, and hence you are a bad teacher. And she was receiving everything in a class of 20 other students sitting, and maybe potentially few other parents keeping an eye on their children, right? And for a minute, I saw my son put himself on mute uh, and look at me without knowing how to react, whether he should smile at it, whether he should agree, disagree. He was going through that confusion in his mind. And then, because he knows me, he said, I don't know what is happening. You handle. I don't know. It is not me. I said, it's okay. I've come here because I heard somebody else. And Then a couple of parents, a few of us actually pitched in and requested the gentleman to maybe pick it up with school separately and maybe consider tuitions. But in a parent group, I was one of them who took a strong objection in the way the parent reacted in that. I said, I don't want my child to learn misbehavior towards adults. How irrespective whether the teacher is right, parent is right, whoever is right, uh, the respect is an important aspect that one needs to cultivate. And I think the students, the parents, the industry needs to recognize that about professors. At no point in time, uh, we can, it is Guru Devo Bhava finally. So the Guru needs to be respected. I think that's one thing that we need to, somewhere reinstall and refix in academia while we are respecting the students. And that needs to be fixed as well. And finally, no matter how much industry is progressing, how fast we are going, and things of that sort, see, that is true in every aspect of life, right? But the basic, if a corporate is expecting ethics, um, I feel this very strongly. So we say ethics, we want integrity, we want teamwork, value system, we want problem solving, we want. I have myself written a document with 10 skills that are important in a corporate. So if all that is important for you, the ethics starts with paying your interns. Are you respecting that? How can you get free labor done? Are they not working for you? And are you not going to use that for your work? So I think we need to start being in action about a lot of things that we speak.
I think I started teaching in 2009. So my first was in, I believe, July or August 2009. That's when I started teaching. So I think there's a lot of balancing act that teachers have to do. This is not to say that everyone is doing great and there's no respect. I don't want to say that also. It's not good. But out of those who are attempting to do good also need to be recognized at least. And there is a mechanism like in corporate or in society for that matter. There's always something good around. Then there's something that is neutral, just passing by, observing, noticing, ignoring, maybe. And then there's a segment that reacts to it. There's a segment that does chaos part of it. Uh, so internally on campus, I think that is the attempt that some good campuses are trying to make and look at
To retain the respect for
So
the
I
professors.
have a stake on that if Amol
right.
is done. So I personally believe respect must be earned.
Yes.
You cannot force anybody to respect anybody, and that's while I'm a very strong believer of the Indian culture and the systems that has been passed on to us and all that stuff. The whole fact that it's been built on fear is what is not working anymore. uh, I was forced to respect my teacher because there was always a consequence of not respecting them. The consequences were very bad, and then the respect comes up as a because of that, not because that I really wanted to respect that gentleman or lady as because she's my teacher. It was a position that I was asked to respect, not the person. Today that fear factor is gone. The kids are no more fearful about that position or a teacher. My kid can actually walk into the headmistress's room and talk on her face, can tell her. I mean, how does his child at 4.5 years get that courage to tell the teacher that this is what is going to happen? Would we have dared to do that? I mean, I wouldn't have dared to walk into my principal's room. Today, the kids are doing it because the world has changed. And if that professor is expecting a respect from the child, that should be earned.
No,
Which
No,
is
actually,
which is
Manoj, I
completely.
have a point of
No,
view here that it's respect is not just about respecting teachers, right? Like we all talked about attitude
correct.
as one of the key things that we want students to. And when you talk about that attitude,
It's
respecting
part of it.
your the opportunity that you have, that admission that you have, that privilege that you carry, the teachers that it's all part of the system. So it doesn't necessarily like actually What happens very frequently now, which I see among younger talent in my team, in across the board, is like there is a fair amount of disrespect of opportunity or of privilege that happens, and that probably stems from everything that we've learned and been exposed to before that, right? So when you are in campus, in school, all of like these formative years, I think it's very important for institutions, parents, corporates, everyone to ensure that discipline and respect towards
Yeah.
professors, because if you do not display that respect in that forum because the professor hasn't earned it, you still have to not be disrespectful, right? Like
Yeah.
some kind of lines can't be crossed, because then that becomes a part of your character, and then you translate that disrespect towards other opportunities that come your way, because
Yeah.
everything will not earn, like earning respect cannot come in every context, right? You,
Absolutely.
at a basic level, you have to know that this has come to you because you're privileged, and you have to respect it for that reason.
At least
So
that element of gratitude is, I think, what
yes,
I would pick from this part is
right,
something that has to be kept in mind. And not advocating respect in that context. I'm only talking about, I think, the element of gratitude that needs to be in place across, and it's in
right,
the better interest of everybody, including the parents. See, the other thing that I said earlier also, and now I'll put it again, is as there is industry as a stakeholder, there is society as a stakeholder, there's government as a stakeholder, there's environment as a stakeholder. And as a teacher, the responsibility is a slightly, this again is not an excuse to say that we will compromise on industry parameters because I'm taking care of something else. If someone says that, it is completely wrong. So why, but by and large, this needs to be understood, because the bigger responsibility is to, as we said earlier, is for life of the student. So the career is a stepping stone. Career is not entirely life. There's life beyond career, but livelihood is an important parameter if the person is in that financial or economic state, and that can't be ignored. Then livelihood is the beginning, because that is somebody has to survive to make a good career, right? And the career is a stepping stone for life. Now, if I think this is the framework that can needs to be discussed, and on this parameter there are a lot of uh, different perspectives. I will put it this way, with respect for all the perspectives, but each campus, each teacher is has to take stand on this and make it explicit, so that you don't assume anything, and you say that this is what our priorities are, and as every student is, I think, in a way supposed to do that on ethical parameters. This is what I, the conclusion that I've come to, and this is what I've decided, this is how I've decided to
I'm
operate.
So
I'm with
one
you on
thing,
this, Samata.
one thing I wanted to
Yeah, yeah,
just
sure, sure.
add in is, maybe the core point is just this, right? It's a society in whole. One cannot run without the other. One of the experiences that I wanted to share is in corporates, especially with leaders who are 13 plus years experience, 15 plus years experience, holding key portfolios for the business, right?
Mhm.
One of the things that we've done is made sure that there are professors from various universities visit us and talk to these leaders on various topics, and maybe even their latest research paper. And sometimes we've had these leaders go to campuses and spend 3 to 4 days working as assistant professors.
Mm.
And the reason why we've done this is a theory and practical has to go hand in hand.
Right.
Practical without theory weakens the practicalness of the work that you do, and so they basically keep feeding into each other. And uh, the faster everyone appreciates it and learns it, I think then we are able to build in that balance. I think it's just about that balance
yeah,
that is required.
And people empathize better then.
yeah,
Absolutely.
So
yeah,
unless you're in that
mm,
context
yeah,
Yeah.
for a while, it's
yeah,
difficult
that's
to
true.
appreciate. And from there on, you can guide better.
No, because for me,
Then you
what
see the
Yeah,
real
yeah,
areas
yeah,
of opportunities,
that's true.
also understanding the constraints
when I
Yeah,
at that point
joined,
in time.
yeah,
So, what I was trying to say is on the respect part. I think I just wanted to kind of close loop what I'm trying to say. Respect should be for that individual. Respect is never for a position.
Position.
Respect is always for an individual.
Agree.
Doesn't matter you are the professor, headmaster, peon, sweeper. It doesn't matter.
As a
There has
person.
to be a respect for every person involved, and that is something that has to be inculcated.
Yeah.
The school that my kids went to, when they were having the school annual day or what we call it, the annual day event, I've seen most schools calling a local corporator, MLA, or some dignitary to come and inaugurate it, light the lamp, and all that stuff. In my kids' school, the inauguration used to be done by the Aya who's keep sweeping the bathroom. She is the one who's coming and lighting the lamp. The bus driver is the one coming and lighting the lamp. Kids are told that these people are important because they are the ones invited to light that lamp. And the parents are all are sitting, and most of the parents come from pretty high positions and stuff. We are all sitting there, and these are the people who are so you're showing them by showing them. I mean, they emulate what they see and not what you tell them. You can keep on talking to them about respect and say that, okay, this is a teacher, you need to respect them. The moment you show them that this is what respect means, they will do that. And because of that, what is happening is that no position is looked differently. The Aya who's cleaning that room is respected the same way the principal is respected. So it has to be from the formative years and not from a campus. So there is a lot of, I would say, cross educational institutions best practices shares that should happen. So this is something that I thought I'll share,
So
because
I'll
such an
add it.
incident would never happen in their campus where a parent is involved and teach shouting to a kid. Yeah, we've had our own shares of the Zoom issues and all that stuff, because suddenly you saw what was happening in a classroom. Till then you had no access.
No access.
The moment when Zoom happened, they realized that, okay, this teacher is not great. And as a parent, you have absolutely no business to involve in a classroom. That is not your place at all.
You should not
You
be
have
there
an
in the first
issue,
place.
you have an issue, you go, there is a proper escalation mechanism to take it up. Take it up, you're happy with it, good. If you're not happy, move on. But a parent is not expected to speak to a teacher and tell her how to teach. So I think that's a clear no, and it's nothing to do with the child. That child is being taught disrespect.
Yeah, a lot of learning is unintentional in all the ways. Once that is recognized, I think then we are sending out right messages.
Yeah.
Also be mindful of
So
something
I've
that
seen
is not
campuses.
appropriate.
I've seen campuses wherein the kids are eating here, the professors are eating here, the housekeeping staff are eating somewhere else. Why have that class divide inside that? Why can't everybody be together? It's you're eating food. Respect the food. Respect that place, and everybody can come and queue up and eat together. So the moment you're creating that culture inside, the kids learn it and say that, okay, I need to respect not just him, the auto driver who's dropping me, the bus driver who's taking me, the maid who's coming at my home, all are individuals. I need to respect them irrespective of the position that they're holding.
It starts at home also, yeah.
Absolutely.
No, all the habits are, first learned from home.
Yeah.
So your kids are not doing something that,
They've not
that your
seen.
kids are exactly being you. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not able to tolerate you and your kid. That is why you get angry. First. Second, I firmly believe that the parent had no bloody business in getting involved in the class. Even if at all they are, hearing to it, they should, go through the proper mechanism. Third, in terms of respect, I strongly allude that even if it's an assistant professor or a lecturer, the student, if they find value in that professor and is wishing well for the kid, will respect. It's those professors who come there because they didn't find any other job and have not also managed to, become a proper teacher. You land there by any virtue, but then once you land there, then you are, enable yourself to be the best version of you possible.
Right.
Those are the ones that will never get respected.
No, so
And-
again,
and
going
even-
back to what Shruti was saying, I just want to highlight that point. See, one is earning respect for the role you play, the position you play. The other is being respectful of the other living being
So
around.
So
That's the point.
I totally get it. Look,
that's the
as a
only point.
human being, you get the respect you deserve. Okay, and everybody should respect all of the fellow human beings as a person.
Absolutely.
Okay, but then when somebody who is ineffective tries to play a role of a dominion and tries to tell you what they don't know themselves, you look down on them. That is a natural instinct. And you cannot complain that the student is looking down on somebody, because the student knows that he doesn't know anything. That is the problem. And coming to the fourth part, when you get in corporate, if you have a boss who's a stupid, okay, but you cannot tell your boss he's a stupid, right? That is where we being very, very objective, kind of screwed us over. Because in education system, you're like, how much marks are you getting, how much are you getting, and I don't care about, if your teacher is unhappy with you. If your boss is unhappy with you, you lose your job. If your teacher is unhappy with you, you don't lose anything. So that is where, the American education system comes in handy, where your entire evaluation depends on the teacher. And the teacher, you know, decides that they are going to fail you, you fail, no matter how well you perform. So that way, what happens is, if that is there, then the student will understand the social dynamics. Like, you may not like your boss, but then he's your boss. You will have to appease him for you to keep the job. So that one it's at the root of it. So the moment you make it very, very objective, right, then all subjectivity dies. Then I'm like, no matter, there is no consequence. The moment you have consequence, like, boss, I don't know. So only kids who go abroad to study their graduation, post graduation.
So again, you know what is happening here, Gautam? You are bringing in the consequence of the fear that he was talking,
which I
and
don't think
which
is
I
the right way.
think is not the absolutely. What happens when you build in fear as a consequence is it is a very temporary consequence. There are today's children will cross fear like this.
No, fear as in,
So
repercussions. What I'm saying is that it's not
No,
fear.
I don't.
You
The
jump
teacher
from the
doesn't.
building, you'll
No.
die.
If the teacher doesn't like you and your whole life is dependent on the teacher, that's not respect.
No,
That's absolute fear of authority.
No, I
Right.
understand. That's
Now-
what we grew up in. What I'm saying is that the teacher should have autonomy.
No, so it is very individualistic, Gautam. I think while we are digressing from the topic, I think it's very individualistic. I worked with teachers who even we are in touch even today. I finished college donkey years back. The teachers are still in touch. We talk on a regular basis. They respect me, I respect them. But I also know teachers whom I don't want to do anything with. Absolutely nothing. Yeah, I had to sit in your class. I sat in your class. I'm done. I don't want to even know where you are today. So that's them, and it is very individualistic. And I've also realized that uh, there are kids who love those teachers, respect those teachers because they gave them what they wanted. I did not get what they want, so I don't have that same connect with them.
no, and that's
Right.
true
So
about
it's
life,
with
right? We
everyone. So
connect
the
with
same
this
the
five,
same
six
boss.
people. That's true about life. But our connect with 5, 6 people can't become a social norm of disrespecting somebody.
So I think how we can close loop this is by saying that if institutions put together a strong student teacher feedback system, right, like where if students are able to share feedback
Have a
about the
360-degree feedback.
faculty
Yeah.
in clear and precise manner, and like that can sort of be
An
a
objective
structure can be created around that, then I think this sort of solves the problem where the teachers who don't deserve to be part of the system will be taken care out of the system, because that's probably the only, it's like a corporate environment, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't perform, you need to be out of the system. So I think that's the only way to address this.
That's a very nice way to go about it,
Yeah.
actually. So, kind of switching on from there to, internships, right? Shruti, I wanted to take your 2 cents. Like, when you say internships, right? What are the effective components of a successful internship, and how can students contribute, the industry contribute, and the academia contribute?
Okay, students, academia, and industry, right? Okay, sure. So I think from all the discussion that we've had, like the most sort of key thing to get job ready or work ready is to do internships. Clearly, like I think the freshers that I've had who've done like 2 to 3 internships in their grad and their engineering and during their MBA are by far way equipped than the freshers who've not done those internships. So I think the role for colleges to play where internships are concerned are is definitely to I think like those years are very exploratory in nature, right? So creating the platform from all walks of life for students to get internships on, like which is like, for example, whether it's not for profits, whether
Yeah,
it's the
options.
government, whether it's actually like corporate companies, whether it is an institutional setup, like there are a plethora of
Diversity of the
yeah. So
opportunities and
providing those
organizations.
opportunities, I see that it's very sort of skewed, like the kind of companies that institutions engage with for bringing internships in. So there are two parts to this. One is what is it that the institution is doing to enable internships, and second is to make the students responsible for this themselves. Like I think the big difference between foreign universities and Indian universities, I don't know if this has changed, but at least when I passed out, like
Partially,
a lot of
not
students
much.
believed that the college was responsible for getting them internships as well as placements, right? So I think creating that whole ecosystem where a student knows how to go about getting internships and then actually is sort of it's a part of their expected outcomes, that they go and get an internship, that they go and then deliver on that internship, then that assessment happens, and then that assessment is taken into the overall evaluation of the system, like of the student. Like that whole loop needs to be closed, right? So one part is making the student accountable, because we've been talking about attitude. So this whole attitude starts there, right? Like if you make the student accountable for his own success, it is like you're building that habit
Ownership.
into that student from the onset. So I think that's what one part of it. And the second is what the role that the college actually plays. I think the job is to actually diversify the kind of opportunities that are presented to the student, because like you mentioned earlier,
By skill, by
85
purpose, by
yeah,
sector,
by sector, by
lot of
everything.
parameters.
And 85 to 90% of us actually don't do jobs for which we learned, right? So it's not that an engineering campus needs to an engineering student needs to do an internship with an engineering company, like, or with a technical company, so to say, right? My first job out of Vishwakarma Institute was with a company called as eValue Serve, where I worked as a business analyst, because I didn't want to take up a technical job. I didn't think I was good at most of the subjects in engineering that I learned, and I wanted to pick up a job which I thought, like, I'm more of a generalist than being a subject matter expert in any of the subjects that I had learned. But like, thank God that that company came to campus and I was able to
By structure and regulation, this is evolving now.
right.
The
Okay.
flexibility
Okay.
for the domain you can choose,
Okay.
the kind of career that you can
Yeah,
get
but I
into,
still don't see
the
like
timeline
non-profits, the government, like
will
those
take
kind
time.
of, yeah, it needs to be there, right? So I think so that's what I was trying to say, like providing and from the academy, from the corporate part of things, I think there also actually a fair bit of work needs to happen. Typically when interns, like, I don't know how it works at other companies, but where I've worked, there's a list of interns that get assigned to specific teams. Like you make a requirement that you need so many interns, they get assigned to you, and it's a very last minute thing. And then you like scramble, because you probably submitted that request like 3 months ago. You had a requirement probably at that point in time, and when the intern actually gets assigned to you, you may or may not have a project ready for them. And most of the time we don't think of interns as precious talent. Like most of the jobs which are more sort of operational in nature, or which require a lot of ops bandwidth, we probably try to pass off those kind of projects to interns, which probably is not I think there's a good and bad to it. Like there's a plenty of opportunity for the interns to learn for sure, but like coming up with that method to evaluate what was done, and also to set up like a feedback loop for engaging with various cross-functional stakeholders. Like all of that needs a bit more thought, right? Like as a leader, I would definitely like to spend more time in figuring out how to make the internships of my interns most productive. But unfortunately, like I've never had any structured time to do that, and I really like treat it as a BAU kind of thing, and I'm not able to spend that time and energy to really, So I think if that push came to me from either my HR, because it is coming from the institution, that let's have the internship be structured, like what are the key deliverables, let a
You
lot,
would
like
like to know
you need
name
a
of the
lot more
mentor or reporting
definition.
manager bit
Yeah,
early,
yeah,
things like
and like
this.
what's expected at the end of the first month, second month. So I think that whole structure, I think, will help. And then for corporates also to spend that time, I think, to ensure that the best outcomes are achieved, is something that needs to happen. Yeah.
Very good, useful points.
Yeah.
Just to
Gautam.
understand, Shruti, just a thought. Is there a person in a corporate who's responsible for interns,
Yeah.
or
So I
is
think
it part of a lot of other things that person does?
so in the HR teams, there's definitely a specific dedicated HR who engages with academic institutions. So it's that HR. So typically every business has the HRBP that they have, and then that HRBP routes the requirement of interns via the academic related HR that you have. And then like typically the company, so there are interns that you can find throughout the year. Which come probably from BA courses and those kind of courses, and then you have interns that you can get from MBA colleges or engineering colleges, but they only come at
Specific time.
specific times of the year. But your projects don't follow those
Mm,
timelines.
mm, mm.
So I think these kind of constraints are like, I think they can be done away with, but they continue to exist.
Yeah.
So like when, in my view, like when once the requirement for the intern comes out, we should be able to find an intern within a week. Like I don't know why it takes more time than that, to be honest, because I thought कि people want internships, but intern मिलने में इतना time लगता है कि I'm not able to understand like why does
क्योंकि
it take.
intern का भी selection होता है.
हाँ, but like मतलब if
So
there's a
that's the
demand and
qualifying.
supply में इतना gap है तो फिर फटाफट fulfill होना चाहिए.
No. So
But
that comes to the first point that we were speaking, Shruti, and I'm taking the liberty of picking it up
Right.
My
because
next question was to you, because you have been a champion for interns in all the organizations that you've worked in. So I
I
wanted
believe in
your
the fresher energy completely.
Mhm.
So there are three aspects to it. Okay, I'll answer your first question as in why does it take time? It takes close to a month's time.
Okay.
Okay. Why does it take time? Is because you need to, the career aspiration of an intern needs to match the department one is handling, right? And second, the phase somebody is in the academia. Most academia says that, between April to June, you can do internship. In November, after
December.
Durga Puja
Right.
to December, you can
winter
do
or
internship.
summer.
Yeah. So there are these slots in which you will get interns also, for which maybe the hiring will start a little earlier.
Right.
Right. So in such slots, you will get them immediately. If your project is timed around that time, it is you get them immediately. Otherwise, it takes time
Got it.
because you have to match a person who is available to their interest in that department and then their likeliness of getting selected for the company.
Right.
So these factors get played. The second thing that also happens in corporates, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, is in most bigger MNCs also, there are departments that run like startups,
Right.
right? And what happens then is expectation of a corporate leader there to plan their work for the next 6 months, 8 months, 1 year is very difficult because they are dealing with market directly and especially coming from a startup ecosystem. Maybe in MNCs where it is a captive, it is very different. Right? Captives work very, very differently. आपके पास 5-year plan भी रहेगा. But
Yeah.
in a startup ecosystem, your plan is 6 months. If you have a plan, it's amazing. And it's likely to change next quarter if the first quarter didn't work.
Correct.
Right? And at that point in time, the leaders don't have a plan. So they will want interns to pick up some work that they don't want to do because they have to focus on the changing market dynamics. Okay. And that's why I insist that interns should be paid. Okay, because they're actually doing work. And I actually think they're doing good work because otherwise they would never get this work. This is the work that corporates actually do in different scale and dynamics. But if you're going to feel bad that I am now an engineer, I'm an MBA, but I'm not going to do this data entry job, then it's bad. You don't even know where things start. So in internship, if you're able to do that data entry error free, also learn Excel really well, learn some AI, and throw up a beautiful dashboard to your manager and say, this is what it is. And this is the big picture impact from data that I'm seeing. This is my analysis. Shruti, who is not having time, will certainly find time.
Yeah.
Correct.
She will find time for the intern.
Plus figure out some role based on the opportunity.
Right.
No, more than the role. She'll be interested in spending time for the intern to develop his or her skills
learning.
and make that internship valuable. Because, see, value is a two-way chain. And this is what I tell interns, that you take charge of your career. If you don't take charge of your career, and that also the manager has to do, they will never have the time because they have work to do, right? So if you are so lucky that in thousands who wanted to come into a corporate, you're one of the tens who got in, then you're lucky, okay? And then you get to work with a leader who's done so much, then you're luckier because you're now working with somebody who's done so much in their career already. There's a lot of learnings they have. Now, is it valuable for a senior leader to spend time on an intern? They don't see value. Absolutely zero value. They don't see value at all teaching you something. They are not academia. They have something to deliver.
Correct.
But do you want to learn from them? Then create value for them. So, kuch bhi kam ho, even if it is data entry, it's recruitment. It is put a search in Naukri and get these profiles and things like that. The small things I've seen interns do, and which I encourage interns do, is if there is a data entry operations job that is handed over to you, throw a dashboard back at them. If there is, and you will see how your corporate leader will suddenly find 1 hour for you.
Or
Absolutely.
creating SOPs. I think so it happened recently where like we were getting a lot of, like, for the new project that we're launching, we were getting a lot of the inputs that are required to go live was coming in, and we got an intern to sort of review all of that inputs. And then, like, she set up a beautiful, like, process around it, about like what the QC checks will be, what is the rejection criteria, like all of that, and she institutionalized it for me, right? Like, I expected that to happen. I did tell her that these are one of the key outcomes that are required, but I honestly didn't expect that it would actually happen, because like that would have been like my like the big hairy goal for her, but like, and it came, and I was very, very impressed that
And
that
you
happened.
spend time.
And the moment you're hiring, you will
Yeah.
actually search for her.
Yes, for sure. So I think like coming in with that energy, and then like translating that into a tangible outcome for your company, for your role. I think of course, like, motivation is all, and like of course she used help from everyone around her, but I think
No, but
like,
that's the whole point I was
Yeah.
trying to say, that take charge of your career.
right.
Don't leave it in somebody else's hand. You have to take charge of your career. See what is the best work, the excellent work you can deliver in that space, in whatever is given to you. So one of the examples that I had is, we had a recruitment intern. I've had multiple of them, but this one really stands out. She came in, and then we had store hiring. Okay, now store hiring is not what everybody loves to do because attrition is very high and you have to keep engaging with these folks. And then you do all the hard work to onboard them to a third party role, right?
Mhm.
So it is not one of those lucrative recruitment jobs. So we said intern karegi. So we gave it to her. And beautiful, she said, no, this attrition's very high. So this is what she was talking to my team member. Uh, I did overhear them, and over time I wanted to spend more and more time with this girl because the way she looked at it was very different. She said, okay, I need a permission to work out of Forum Mall today. I need permission to work out of some other mall today, because she was going and interviewing the store managers there on what will keep them happy.
Wow.
And she came back and she told that, apna salary range hi low hai. Should we improve it? Then I'll get you that kind of a store manager. Otherwise, you get this kind of a store manager. This category of store managers are available in Pantaloons and Shopper Stop and this. But if you want ka store manager, you will, these are the things they expect. And it was fantastic. It was suddenly so fantastic that there is an intern putting heart and soul into their work and making it so meaningful. And then I actually went back and asked her, do you want to join me? She said, I have one more year of academia. We'll talk after that.
So for me, actually, the takeaway from what you've just said is that, like, when we do projects in colleges, this whole, like what you mentioned earlier, that the process that the student takes in execution of the project, like if that starts from primary research, like the reason why the intern went and did what she did was probably because, like, that's the structure that she followed in some projects that she had done earlier. So, and which is why, like, to sort of again close loop about a lot of things that we've discussed. In colleges, typically when students do projects, there's a lot of like copy paste, there's a lot of last minute hustle, there's a lot of, because we are only being measured on the output. We are not being measured on the process followed, right? So if the process followed makes a difference, then the students will start planning much in advance. They will have to go and spend time on the ground. They will have, because they are being measured on all of that. So if that habit gets inculcated, unfortunately today in a lot of environments, I still do a lot of last minute work, right? Because it's probably been ingrained because of the way things have been sort of measured. So I think, like, setting up evaluation criteria, like you said, makes a huge difference in
Instill that habit of
yeah,
preparedness,
yes,
of groundwork,
yeah,
uh, going in the field,
correct,
asking for real insights,
yeah,
spending time on
yeah,
that,
yeah.
understanding
Starting
first of
from
all that
there,
it is important
correct,
to do that work.
correct,
And
yeah.
more importantly, right, what I've also, I'm picking up from what you said, Shruti, is that, there are two forms of teaching that consistently happens. Okay, and I've been very observant of it. Okay, one is hard work is required, the other one is smart work. Now if you decode what is smart work, the decode of smart work is chat gpt है, तुम्हें समझ आए ना आए copy paste करो. Okay, the decode of smart work is, there are many people telling that, you also tell that. Whether it resonates with you or not, you tell that, right? Because that's the popular statement that is going on. I think I would actually, and I'm taking this opportunity, if this is reaching out to students, I would think, please be original. If anything doesn't match your common sense, don't say it. It has to match your common sense, even if the richest man in this world has said it. But if it is not matching your common sense, don't say it. Because your context can be completely different. The project you're handling can be completely different. And your outcome can be completely different. What you're trying to seek is very different from what they sought and what they got, right? So your journey is not the same journey as somebody else's journey. So my request is that, this needs to be pushed in, that, being original. Um, and originality requires hard work.
Absolutely.
It requires somebody to go do that primary research, follow the process. And maybe she's insisting on, assess the process and all of that, because that hard work needs to be recognized, right? If the outcome is the only thing that is going to be recognized, then it's a world moving towards AI. People will create outcomes and think they are Sarvagnya as in just a minute. But that's not the reality. Education is still very deep and it requires hard work.
Smart work should essentially solve the efficiency problem, not
Yes.
the shortcut way of avoiding and compromising. It has to do with the productivity and efficiency, keeping the most of the other output quality parameters same. It has to do with the
Yeah,
better ways of
smart
doing
work is
something.
more to do with, if there is a tool that can make what you want to show look little better, I think that's smart work.
Quality has to remain
But
the
what
same or
you,
slightly better.
but what you have to say has to be yours. That can't be somebody else's.
Yeah.
On the internship part, right? So I had this issue. So what happens is the semester starts, right? Once the semester starts, the evaluation for them starts. So they cannot come in between. So that's why you see November, December,
Right.
or July, August, because that's the starting of the semester. So the entire semester evaluation is dependent on the internship.
Right.
Once the semester start, it becomes a difficulty for them to move it. And I think we should have a solution where if there is an industry project or an industry internship that comes up, you should be able to truncate that academics there, and then go on with whatever is the industry project or the industry internship. So that is something that we should work towards. And kind of rounding up this conversation, right, Manoj?
Now, one last point I want to add before we close it is the third point that I wanted to say. I got carried away. I'm so sorry. I
No,
keep
go on.
going through that.
Take the liberty.
So, one last point I wanted to add is, you know, as corporate leaders, there's a lot of ideas that keep flashing in our mind, and then we lose the idea. Okay, because the next big thing that needs to be delivered is on the desk, right? So my request is, and I've seen one of my leaders do this really well. So he has a separate Excel sheet, which is called an idea sheet.
Okay.
Okay, so he keeps putting in various ideas over there. And when interns come, whenever they show up, he looks at the idea, looks at the interns scorecard that we've created and says, isko ye idea match karega. And then he'll say, okay, you explore now. You go ahead and do this. So that's another way of, there are a lot of aspirations and ideas that we have as leaders. Maybe that's another way of matching internship to your ideas.
Yeah.
Maybe even when you are at a different boat at that point in time.
Right. Yeah. I think maintaining a constant pipeline of both projects and profiles is, I think, the way to solve this. Like if for example, my company is constantly engaging with colleges and we constantly have like this whole thing happening throughout the year.
But internship seasonal hota hai. See now, this throughout the year, people that you will get will be off campus. And trust me, not everybody will be to your taste.
I'll share one important thing about this excitement. So the feedback that we get from students and as we observe them over the years is they would be okay with routine work. They understand that it needs to be done. Not everything is going to be by choice and everything. That's all fine. But there has to be that element of something exciting. It could be 10%, 5%, 7%. I don't think majority expect it to be more than 20% of the time.
Right.
And in fact, they're ready to go it beyond their working hours also. That's what they have been doing as students. Not everything happens within classroom. They're used to this idea of doing extracurricular and co-curricular beyond class schedule.
Right.
Only thing is, I think that opportunity, as I said, maybe those some ideas or problem statements that they find exciting enough. Now it is for them, so that then they're probably able, like with us also. Not everything they do we
The
day
only
in and
thing
day out,
that
like in my
for
teaching
this
role, your role.
particular thing, the only thing that I will say is वो project आपके हाथ में नहीं है. वो project वो leader के हाथ में है. So whatever comes to you, make it exciting. So it is like a drawing exam. My son is least interested in drawing. So he go there with crayons and things like that. And then he still gets a grade. And he'll come and say, anything I draw, I get A grade. And it's so boring because every time it is this mountain, sun and water and one hut. Okay. And that gives me a grade and it's like a standard Formula 1 has cracked. The only one thing that I left with him is how can you make this more exciting? Forget the grade. Art exam है You anyways find it boring. Nor are you going to be artist, nor am I going to measure you on being artist. How are you going to make that fun? And that's the year he went and he did a mandala
Okay.
in the drawing sheet, and he got A plus. So my request is only that much, that what you have to do is not in your hand. It just lands at your table. What you do with it is completely in your hands.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
absolutely.
So I want to, round it off. The internship's purpose is that he is able to find a good career starting point, right? How, I want all the three of you to pitch in, so that, I have an understanding. The question first I had to ask Manoj, but then given all the viewpoints, right? How can an effective internship be converted into a job opportunity? What are the key attributes, and how can a student ensure that is good internship is converted into a effective job opportunity for him to pursue?
I think both Shruti and Samantha answered that with two examples in terms of interns who came and did something great and they are actually wanting to hire them right away. So I think that's the key to it. But I think a lot of readiness has to be done at the campus in terms of getting the kids ready. Um, I've seen, I'll just go a little back on this. One fine day, my email ID got leaked on LinkedIn for some reason. Next 3 days or 4 days, I got 1,300 emails, all freshers. For some reason, it went out saying that this guy is into fresher hiring or something, which I don't do. And I was bombarded with mails, and I didn't know what to do with this. So then one evening, I was just sitting and just going through these mails, and I realized, to my utter shock, almost 80-85% of them did not even have a body in the mail.
Okay.
Okay.
Just
There are some mails which had the audacity of just writing PFA, and rest is for me to kind of make out what is it. There is a CV attached. The CV is a number, because I realize that this has been downloaded from a WhatsApp or something. There's a number, and
Yeah.
most of them look like absolute spam. My spam folder was full because many of them went automatically into spam. And I realized the corporate side of it. I was a recruiter. The corporate side of it, if it is this is how the mails are going to them, how is it going to even be opened? Right? I mean, I did not open. Then actually wrote a lengthy post on LinkedIn, showcasing what needs to be done, how to put it across, what are the things that are required, subject, what is the subject, all of that stuff. Now, this is of a person who has probably finished internship, finished his camp course, and then applying for a job. Then I was thinking about the guy who's actually not even there. So, what kind of a readiness is the campus creating for them? One could be getting these people from the corporate to kind of come and tell them upfront that this is what is expected out of you. Like you said, the SOPs creation or any of that stuff. These are the best practices that you do. And I've always realized that when it is coming from an external industry person, the kids take it much more better than when it is going from an internal professor or somebody who has done it. So getting them in is one good thing. Secondly, like Samantha said, it may not be of your liking. You're going to get an internship. That's an opportunity for you, which is not available to the rest of them. You're getting an opportunity. Make the best out of it. Third is, how do you convert that into a permanent opportunity? Now, if that is a place that you want to be, my daughter wanted to do my daughter has just finished her graduation. She's on a break here now. But when she wanted to do her internship, she was crystal clear that these are the 1, 2, 3 companies I'm going in. My campus is not going to support me. I'm going to find out how to get in there. And she found it out and she went in and she did her internship in those companies, and she was very happy. While they got her to do a lot of routine mundane job, but she was very happy with the learning that happened. And as she finished it, they were very happy to say that, okay, the moment you're out, come in. And she said, no, I'm taking a break and all of that stuff. But the ability to take that decision is very important for that kid. She may not join there because that's probably not her aspiration, but that experience was great for her, which will prepare her in. Now, many kids go with an idea, Gautam, that I'm going to do an internship in this company. I want to get a job also in that company. 3 months, 6 months down the line, the whole industry has evolved. the project that you did is no more relevant.
Mm.
It may not even exist at this point of time. Like we
Mm.
say, whole company shut down, whole
Mm.
vertical shut down, whole BU shut down. So
Mm.
what you did is no more relevant. So
Mm.
be adaptive on that. So to me, one important thing is that part, to be adaptive on what you're going to do, to go with that attitude that I am going to learn here.
Mm.
I totally agree to what she said. To me, it was always not 5 years, it was to me 2 years. The first 2 years of your job is to learn,
Mm.
not to earn.
Mm.
Your earning will depend on what you learn in those 2 years. Go with that mindset. If you're getting a paid internship, fantastic, but else be open to that kind of an idea. Because the moment I put an internship request somewhere, the first 5 questions are work time and salary.
Mm.
Standard questions. And I'm not saying, I'm not a fan of making people work 10 hours, 12 hours. No, there is a dedicated time, but that's not what somebody is going to come up front and tell you before I even interview you. If you want me to tell you what is the salary being offered, you're in a wrong place. So that attitude, I think, is very important. Once you're in, spend the whole time, 1 month, 30, 45 days, whatever you get, or even if it is a week that you get, only on learning, and add some value into the organization, that organization actually wants to come back to you and say, hey, I want to offer you a job. So that's what I think internship should be.
Got it. Got it. We've had a great discussion. I want to get into the next segment. We call it decision dilemma. Two options are equally good, but you have to choose one of them. It's your prerogative to choose whatever you want and don't have to explain. So I'll start with Shruti, okay?
Okay. This is like a rapid fire version that you have.
A rapid fire, more a corporate rapid fire, where the burning is not visible. So yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, hiring fresh graduates or hiring experienced professionals.
Um.
It's rapid.
Yeah. Sorry. Experienced professionals.
Invest in continuous employee training or recruit skilled talent.
Sorry. Come again.
Do you invest in employee upskilling or recruit skilled talent?
Oh no, employee upskilling. Yeah.
Hard skills or soft skills in new hires?
Soft skills.
Emphasize practical experience or theoretical knowledge in hiring decisions.
Practical. Yeah.
Grow your talent pool internally or attract external talent through lateral hiring.
No, internally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Samata, for you. So you hire based on potential or hire based on proven experience?
Both is not an option.
That's why I had the disclaimer up front.
Potential.
Focus on employee retention or developing new talent acquisition.
Retention.
So develop employees through mentorship or formal training programs.
Mentorship.
Diverse team with mixed experiences or hire specialized professionals.
Depends on whom you're hiring, which department you're hiring.
Okay, I'll let you go. Prioritize culture fit or skill set.
Culture fit.
Okay, to you, Manoj. Long-term employee development or short-term productivity gains.
Long term, any day.
Offer remote internships or require in-office internships.
Remote.
Focus on building leadership skills or technical proficiency.
Leadership skills.
Develop generalist or a specialist in fresh graduates.
Journalist and fresh graduates.
Okay. And invest in more university partnerships or in-house development programs.
University partnerships.
Got it. So cool. We all had a great discussion. It was fantastic.